Kiri trained today, so we're hopeful that he will get a reaction, and then I'll make a decision whether or not he's ready to go. But that's good news. Obviously, he'd be anxious to get back in. Jeff Cameron's still got a little bit of an issue with his problem just above the ankle, so we're trying to resolve that at the moment. It's not progressing too quickly, so probably need to investigate that further. So that's a little bit slower than we'd anticipated, so he's still unavailable. Shea Gibbons progressing, but obviously not back in full training yet. Akron Outridge got a slight problem with his hamstring that we're managing, but we'll have to be careful with that. We've got a big period coming up, so we'll have to see. But he's trained, but there's a little bit of an issue there. But he's been carrying that for a number of weeks, and he's still playing, so he should be okay.
Confidence must be good, morale must be good after the Arsenal draw and the run you've had. Only one defeat in the Premier League this year. Yeah,
we're okay, we're in good shape. We're enjoying what we're producing at the moment. So another good performance against Arsenal, and that followed on from a good result and performance against Norwich. So we're in decent shape at the moment. It was important to collect good points from 2 home games that we've had, because obviously we're coming into a period now we've got something like 4 or 5 of the next 6 in all competitions away from home, so it's going to test us, but I anticipate that we'll be fine.
A lot of fans are going to be travelling up to Liverpool next week. I mean, how much in your mind are you going to have to sort of juggle the squad around with that in mind?
Well, as I touched on, we've got a big period coming up. We've probably we've gone through the festive period, and usually there's a little bit of a lull in proceedings, but we'd argue we're right in the smack middle of a period that's still continuing, so we've still got huge games to come. So yeah, we're going to need the squad. We've got the cup games as well, so obviously I've got an opportunity there to mix things up and look at things. But I think you've just got to take, it's the old cliche, you've got to take every game as it comes, and there's a big game against a team that's flying at the top of the league, and that's going to test us. We've got Cup semi-final on Tuesday, so either way you look at it, they're 2 big games, so we just have to take them as they come out.
What's your assessment of Leicester? I mean, obviously they shocked everybody, but I suppose what's been excellent from their point of view, they've shown durability to stay in the top group.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've surprised everybody. They've probably surprised themselves, if they're honest. I think they didn't anticipate, certainly when the season started, that they would go on this type of run. But in fairness, I mean, it's only a continuation of what they did in the second half of last season. So credit to them that they've been able to continue in the same vein. They've made changes, they've changed the manager, and they've still continued to win games in the Premier League. And they've had the benefit, obviously, of 2 guys up front, Vardy and Mahrez, who are having exceptional seasons and scoring goals that are keeping them at the top. So when you have that and you have a settled back 4, back 5, which they have for the most part, then you've got a chance on the platform to allow players in front of that platform to flourish, and that's what seems to have happened.
What have you made of Claudio? He's obviously had Premier League experiences. It's kind of a joking act, and I don't know much English, and he just seems to be on a sort of fun trip so far. And what have you made him as a Premier League manager? Well,
I think they had an advantage. Obviously, he's been in the Premier League before. He knew exactly what to expect. Sometimes it's, I think, without fail, I think it takes foreign managers aback the intensity of the Premier League when they first come here. But he's been through that process. I think the clever thing that he's done is that he's walked into a situation at Leicester with a group of players, and he realised very, very quickly that they were doing a lot of right things, and why change it? And it's very easy as a new manager to come in and change things around to the detriment of the club and the team. But he's intelligent. He's been a top manager for a long, long time at all levels and right across Europe, so he'd anticipated that knowledge and that understanding of, if it's not broken, you don't have to fix it. So credit to him to recognise that very early on.
So the Tinker Man doesn't tinker anymore?
It doesn't seem to. No. in saying that, he's played different teams in the cup games. It didn't quite come off for him last night, but put in a good performance in the first game against Tottenham. So they've got a good squad, illustrated by the fact they can make big changes and still press a team like Tottenham to the latter stages. So they're in good shape, and confidence obviously is flowing through them because of the season that they've had. So it's going to be a challenge.
12 days left of the window, and your biro hasn't been out of your top pocket so far.
No, I'm not the first, not the last. That will happen too. Sometimes January, it's better to keep your powder dry, wait for the summer. But we're actively looking, and we think there's opportunities if everything falls into place. But there's a lot of factors. However confident we are or enthusiastic about the possibility of a signing, lots of other things have to fall into place before they actually happen. So we'll never get too ahead of ourselves, because we know the potential pitfalls of the transfer process. So we just have to be patient. If it happens, we'll be delighted. If we have to bide our time and wait till the summer, so be it. According
to the press in Manchester, you had a bid rejected for Michael Keane of Burnley.
I'm not quite sure where that's come from. It's, my understanding is that's not true.
Okay. Shane Long, Berriino, Mbula, all the names. I know what you're going to say, but they are the names that's been bandied around.
Yeah, all good players, all like good clubs, and probably the clubs that they're at will probably feel that they want to keep them there. So yeah, it's inappropriate for me to talk about individual players, other than to say we're in the market for good players.
Just one general question from Sky. Head of UK doping said yesterday that it's naive to think there's no doping in football. You've had many years in the game. What's your view of that?
Well, it's a current topic. Obviously, in other sports, so it's not in the realms of imagination that possibly there'd be a problem in our sport. Not necessarily in this country, but maybe elsewhere. I think in this country it's very well regulated. UK doping do a good job on any training day or match day. You see 3 or 4 of their guys turning up unannounced and testing there and then, so everybody's aware of that process. So I think in this country we do okay. I can't vouch for anyone else in the world, but I'd like to think in this country our sport is as clean as it can.
Mark, is it fair to say if you didn't lose anyone and you didn't bring anyone in this window, you'd be relatively happy?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're strong. Our depth is good. So touch wood, we don't lose key players. But even if we did, similar to last year when we had a number of long-term injuries, we were still able to deal with that and compensate for that with the strength and depth that we had. So that was a little bit of the thinking behind building the squad for this year. That if that happened again, then we'd be in a similar situation to be able to deal with it and still produce good performances on a good level. So if the opportunity presents itself and good players are available, we'll try in that. Obviously, I think it'd be silly not to do it. You can't always plan the exact time or the most convenient time to do a deal. Sometimes you have to move quickly and make it happen and get it done there and then. So when those opportunities present themselves, you just got to make sure you put yourself in a position that everything's in place to be able to move quickly if you have to.
In this window in particular, do even you sometimes raise your eyebrows when you see some of the prices attached to some of the players? Not players that you're linked with, but elsewhere within the Premier League. It seems to be a bit of an inflation.
Well, that's going to happen, I think, with the amount of money that's available to clubs. And in terms of, it's sometimes, almost always, in fact, swayed by sometimes the club's situation in January. If they're struggling at the bottom end, then they will feel that they'd have to go in the market and try and address maybe the squad that they've had, because they feel it's not strong enough to keep them in the Premier League. And obviously with the TV deal at the end of this year, maybe that's brought those feelings into focus a little bit more readily for some clubs, because it's key that teams stay in the Premier League this year. So you can understand to a certain extent why maybe teams are prepared to possibly pay a little bit over the odds, but obviously the selling club knows that as well, so they're going to inflate prices as a consequence of situations that clubs find themselves in. So it is what it is really.
There's none of your fringe players banging on your door asking for a loan move out?
Not to any degree. There's obviously a little bit of frustration because we've got a senior squad, good players that are not playing as regularly as their talent deserves, to be perfectly honest. That's unfortunate, but it's not something I can address exactly for their benefit, because I can only pick so many players. We're doing well at the moment. Lots of positions are consistently filled by the same players, so there's not too many opportunities. But they've obviously at times banged on my door and just made me aware of their frustration, and that's what I want them to do. I don't want them just to be happy to be out of the team. It's important that they keep on producing and training correctly, which they all do. But obviously it's not ideal for them. They want to play, and I've got a real understanding of that. But at the moment, it's difficult for them to break in.
Word on the King Power Stadium, is it becoming a place that the visiting teams enjoy going to purely because of the atmosphere? It's always sold out, and it seems to be a good place to
play. It's a great stadium, and you're right in saying that the atmosphere they've created there is great. There always seems to be a good following of away support. Certainly our away support last year was magnificent. I think we're sold out again this year, so I think opposing fans enjoy the day out there, and it's a good stadium, and the atmosphere that the ball generates maybe lends itself to that. So we'd be more than happy to get a similar result and performance that we got last year. Obviously came away with 3 points. We'd be delighted to do that again. It's a tough ask because not too many teams have been able to take points off Leicester. I mean, we had an opportunity at home, but I ended up drawing 2-2. Made a couple of mistakes when we were 2-0 ahead, and at the time people suggested that was a poor result and a poor performance. Actually, with hindsight, it looks a pretty good one from where I'm sitting. So we know we're a decent side at this level. We can go there and give a good account of itself, and I'm fully anticipate it'll be a really good game.
Just finally, I think you touched on it earlier, defensively they've looked a bit more solid, and obviously there's someone in that defence that you know quite well, and there's starting to be the signs of a partnership there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Hughes. Yeah, Robert's a very, very good defender, and the way Leicester play, it's the perfect situation for Robert. He's a leader as well. He's a good individual in the dressing room. I'm sure he has a huge influence in the dressing room, like he did here. He was unfortunate in his time here. For the most part, he was injured. Couldn't get a run in the team. Was out for a long time, unfortunately. And when he was back, he struggled to break through. And in the end, he wanted to play in the Premiership. At the time, I allowed him to go to Leicester. I was trying to get him game time, and my idea behind it was probably to allow him to go to the Championship. But in fairness to deference to Robert and his career, there was an opportunity to stay in the Premier League, so I allowed him to go to Leicester. As it was, it turned out to be a good opportunity for him, and in the end, I made the decision that it was a good opportunity for us. We got decent money for Rob, and he was able to get on with his career.
Mark, clubs do a fitness check on a couple of other players that you haven't mentioned. Ireland, Muniesa, Barsley.
Yes, they're fine. Yeah,
all of them are available for the games coming up. The other thing I was going to ask you is, obviously Leicester are still joint top of the table and doing very well still by all accounts, as we've mentioned, but some people have pointed out that it's only 1 win in 7 games in all competitions, and now Jamie Vardy's going for a little bit of a barren run. So, I mean, are things possibly finally on the turn for them, or do you think that's silly talk?
It's difficult to say. I mean, they've had a hell of a run, and a lot of their goal scoring threat obviously came from the two guys that you mentioned, Vardy and Mahrez, and so there was always a danger, I suppose, that if they stopped scoring or the chances being created weren't as readily available, then maybe their ability to win games would lessen. Is that happening at the moment? Not too sure. It seems to be, but I've seen recent games and they look as threatening as they have done throughout the years. So You can never say that's exactly what's happening at the moment. They've got a little bit of a run where maybe positive results in terms of 3 points not forthcoming at the moment, but I would suggest that for one moment that they're on the wane or on the slide. They've still got a real threat, and we'll have to play really well against them to get a positive result.
And just in relation to Robert Huth leaving, the guy that's kind of come in his place essentially since then is Philip Walshide. How do you feel he slotted in sort of as his replacement in some ways?
Well, Philip's come in and done really, really well. We've been really pleased. I mean, the partnership between Ryan and Robert Huth was really strong at the time. It was the strength of the team really in terms of the way the team played, and they gave Stoke in the early part of the Premier League that real solidity that they needed. The team's evolved slightly, and we've gone a little bit in a different direction, and Philip has now got a different partnership really with Ryan than the one that Ryan had with Robert, but it's still functioning, still working well, and we're really pleased with what they're both producing. And the back five, obviously include Jack in that, is really strong at the moment, and that's because of continuity in selection, to be perfectly honest. When Robert first came in, it was difficult. He was in and out of the team when I first came, but Philip, for his most part, when he's had a regular run in the team, he's been solid, and he's got a good range of passing, and we're really pleased with the back five as a whole, how they function. So you need to be at his best along with Ryan, because Leicester will test you. A lot of threat in behind, a lot of energy in the team right from back to front, so there'll be occasions where we'll have to defend resolutely, and that's what certainly the back five have been doing.
Mark, you touched on the defence there. You've had 5 clean sheets in your last away games. Is that part of the success of moving forward this season, getting those away results and keeping those clean sheets?
Yeah, very much. Our away form's been really good this year, and I think we've probably for the first time just started having more points at home than away. I think for the most part of the season we've always had more away points than home points, which would probably surprise some people. So yeah, I think it illustrates how well we've done on the road this year. If we can continue that, certainly going to places like Leicester, and we've got big games coming up at difficult places to go, but you have to have decent away form, and that has to complement your good home form, your hope. So if you get good points on the road, then clearly you're going to win games, and you're going to move up the table and have a good season.
You touched on Jack as well. The goalkeepers in the last home game here, Petr and Jack, played so well, but they're going to play a key part in the next game. Leicester, they have got Schmeichel. How good a goalkeeper is he, and how difficult will it be to get goals past him?
Yeah, no, I had Casper at Man City as a young keeper, and always had great potential, as you would imagine, given his pedigree. So he was always going to be a keeper of good quality at a good level. Credit to him, he's built his career and worked his way through. Got a little bit of a frustrated figure when I had him at Man City. He was alongside Joe, young keepers, and they were very impatient. They'd had a taste of playing in the first team, and they wanted more of it. And at that stage, I couldn't really give them the opportunities they wanted. But he's bided his time. He's moved away and built his career, and he's very much a Premier League goalkeeper now. So credit to him.
Mark, you talked all about defenders today, and it was good to see Mark Hughes back in the mix, substitutes against Arsenal. With a lot of sort of varied games coming up, 2 cup games, Liverpool, Palace, is there a chance that he may get a start in those games?
Well, he needs game time. There's any number of lads have been out there for him. They need game time as well, but I would imagine so. He was on the bench, obviously. Mark Wilson wasn't available, so he gives us cover because of the flexibility. He can play centrally or in the full-back position as well. So that was the thinking. He hadn't had a great deal of training time. In fairness, he only had a couple of sessions before the Arsenal game, so it was a little bit of a risk, but we didn't have to obviously getting involved on the day. But he's a good player. He's got that flexibility. He can give us that on the pitch and obviously on the bench as well. So we're always pleased when we have the availability of that.
He's ready. He's ready.
Yeah. He's fit.
Okay, thank you.